The stock market absolutely sucks if you're a beginner. There's so many things online of buy this stock, buy this ETF, do this option strategy, and it probably just all seems so confusing, and I get it. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through crystal clear exactly how I build a 7-figure account in a low risk way, a way that anybody could do right now. I'm going to walk you through my exact strategy, so let's dive in. So the critical thing that we have to start on first is just how important and how time sensitive it is to get started right now with investing. So let's just say that you're starting with $1,000 and you contribute $12,000 per year to your brokerage account, so just another $1,000 a month. If we do that for 25 years and we assume a 10% annual ROI, which we could do way better than that, but let's just assume that's what the average ROI is going to be. You're going to have roughly $1.3 million. But most people are going to be like, well, Brandon, once I get that pay raise or once I pay off my car, I'm going to start to invest. But here's the major problem with that. So if we just delay your investment for 5 years, you could see that the cost of waiting is going to cost you $546,000. If you start now, you'd have $1.3 million. If you wait 5 years, you're going to have $762,000. So in the calculations that we just did, I was assuming an annual ROI of roughly 10% per year. There is a way that we can consistently get more than 10% per year, and that would be critical for our portfolios, but we're just going to use that number to start. Towards the end of the video, I'm going to show you how we can make a little bit more than that, but for now, we're going to stick with this 10% annual ROI. Okay, so the next thing that you're going to wonder is like, okay, I'm ready to build my portfolio. What do I do? So as you get money from your day job, maybe you make $10,000 a month and you have $2,000 a month left over. Try to funnel as much of that money to your brokerage account as you can. So what we're going to do is the thing called a dollar cost average. Every time that you get paid, every week, every 2 weeks, every month, maybe you get paid commission, whatever it may be, every time that you have extra money, don't go increase your standard of living. Don't go buy a new car. Don't go buy a new house just yet. You could get that stuff down the road, but not yet, because you have to build your portfolio to let it grow, to let it compound, to let it scale, and then eventually it'll be big enough that you can live off of the option cash flow that we could do with the portfolio, which we'll get into that in a second. But I'm getting at here is that you only have to get rich one time. So do everything that you can to send as much money to your brokerage account as fast as humanly possible. So let's go a little bit deeper into this dollar cost averaging thing and why most people just simply go wrong. So let's just follow this chart. This is the S&P 500 in the last 5 years. Right now, we're all the way up here to the right. But I want to look at this period right here as an example because it's honestly a really good thing to learn from. So as the market's ripping and as the market's going higher through this time period right here, you have to think what the typical retail investor is going to think like, the typical beginner out there. Even pros think like this too, but it's not the right way to think. I'm trying to break that habit with you right now. The typical person is going to say, oh my God, the market's going up. It's going to keep going up. I need to put all my money in the stock market right now. But the problem with that is that as the market gets a little bit expensive, as it runs up a little bit too much, it's due for a correction lower. And that's exactly what happened. So when the market corrected lower, you found a lot of people that bought in this time period up here, they ended up selling in this time period down here. So they bought high and they sold low, which is the complete opposite of what you actually want to do. And then as the market started chugging along back higher, they're like, okay, I might have enough confidence to buy back into the market right here. And then what we had in April 2025 for Liberation Day tariff stuff, the market took a pretty sharp downturn right here. And a lot of people got wiped out again. They lost a lot of money. They bought high and they sold low. So why are they buying high and they're selling low? Well, again, they're just letting their emotions get the best of them. They are buying when things are hot and they're selling when things are not. But by doing this thing called dollar cost averaging, you're kind of just hedging yourself in a way, kind of like against your own self, because maybe you're buying along the way as the market's hot up here, but you're also buying along the way as the market's going down right here too. And if you just invest, call it $2,000 per month consistently, the share price up here is a little bit more expensive. Look on the right-hand side, it's $440 per share. So $2,000 up here gets you X amount of shares, but $2,000 down here gets you more shares. So you're actually buying less shares when things are more expensive and more shares when things are cheaper, which is exactly what you want to do. Now, you're probably wondering what this trend line right here is on this chart. And this trend line is honestly very, very critical. And just by understanding what I'm going to talk about right here, you probably are going to outperform 95% of all investors out there in the entire world. As a beginner, you're going to be able to outperform them. So this line right here, this is going to correspond to the number one most critical thing that moves the price of stocks in the long term. And that's going to be what the profits of these companies are doing. If the profits go up, the stocks are going to follow that in the long term. In the short term, yes, you can see there's a lot of volatility, a lot of moving up and down, a lot of wiggling around. But in the long term, you could see that the stock market follows this line right here. So typically, this line moves up for the S&P 500 at roughly 10% per year. 10% per year is what we would average in the annualized return. it's not a surprise that the profits of these companies also go up roughly 10% per year also. So think about it, like other companies, like call it Nvidia or other companies that are growing very, very fast. Their profits are going up really fast, and their stocks are also going up really fast too. The stocks are following what the profits are actually doing. So we could use this to our advantage. And I kind of coined this the rubber band analogy. So just think about this line right here as a rubber band. When I take this line and if I were to grab it and stretch it up to this level right here, the rubber band wants to fling back down. And if I grab the rubber band right here and I pull it down, when I let it go, it wants to fling back up. So that's what the stock market wants to do. And the stock market usually always blows this out of proportion. Right here, the market blew it out of proportion to the upside. And then right here, the market blew it out of proportion to the downside. So us as investors, we could capitalize on it. We could understand that when there's fear in the market, when the market's down and when this rubber band is stretched down, everybody's freaking out. But hey, that would have panned out to be a pretty good time to buy because look at your ROI sense right then. But up here when the market's a little bit hot, the market fell because it's just reverting down to the mean line of growth right here. That's called reversion to the mean. And up here again, the market went up a little bit too much. It's now reverting back down to that growth line for profits. So this is what moves the price of stocks in the long term. Don't let anybody else try to complicate it and confuse you of, hey, this chart pattern matters, this Bollinger Band matters, this Fibonacci retracement matters. That stuff could matter in the short term, but at the end of the day, short-term market movements are very hard to predict. And I have this analogy where it's like people that day trade out there, they're basically like professional slot machine pickers. It's like, yes, you might get lucky and find some winning slot machines, but did you get lucky or was that skillful? In my opinion, it's luck. And me working very hard for my money and working hard to build this 7-figure account, I don't want to have to rely on luck to take this account to the next level. I want to rely on fundamentals and what actually moves the needle in the long term. So we got to flip back to a compound interest calculator just to show you how much money that you could really have. So if you have an initial investment of $1,000, and let's just say that you contribute $1,500 per month, and maybe you're young right now, maybe you're in your 30s, maybe you're even in your 40s. Let's just say that you have a 30-year time horizon. And I'm going to show you what it does from a 10% annual ROI. So if we hit calculate right here, you're going to be like, holy crap, dude, I almost have $3 million and all I got to do is invest $1,500 a month for 30 years. Like, that is so critical to understand. In order to get those high returns, we have to at least start with the base portfolio of buying the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ. The S&P, of course, is the 500 largest companies in America, and the NASDAQ is the 100 biggest tech companies in America. So in the long term, if you just buy both of those indices, which Triple Q is the NASDAQ, this is inside my account, and VOO is the S&P 500, that was the chart that we were looking at before. If you allocate roughly half of your account to each of these, I know I'm a little bit different than that, but if you allocate roughly half of your account to each of these, you are going to at least on average be average with the market. So what that means is like 95% of the investors out there trying to beat the market, they're going to fail. But by you allocating half of your portfolio here and half of your portfolio here, by doing nothing, you could go into a coma for literally 10 years, 20 years, whatever it may be. You're going to realize that you did no work, no research, no nothing. You just continued to dollar cost average in every single time you got a paycheck into VOO and Triple Q. You're going to realize that you're going to beat 95% of investors by doing the least amount of work. Because it's like the biggest problem out there that most investors make, especially new investors, is they feel like more work equals more ROI. But it's not like it, because new investors kind of see this attribution of, hey, well, the harder that I work at my day job, the more money I'm going to get paid. The more hours that I work, the more I'm going to make. But it's kind of like the complete opposite with that in the stock market. The stock market bounces around up and down in the short term, and it doesn't always make sense in the short term why the stock market's behaving in the way that it's behaving. But in the long term, if you buy a quality company at a quality price and you just simply be patient, you buy when it's going up, you buy more when it's going down on the dip, you're getting a discount, you're going to do very, very fine in the long term. So if we look at my account, I have roughly 36% of it in the NASDAQ, 32% in the S&P 500, and then I do buy some individual companies. I do have roughly 20% total of this account in individual companies. So when I feel like something goes way blown out of proportion to the upside, like if we just flip back to that chart right here, and you could see like, hey, the stock market right now when I'm recording this, like, dude, the market ran up a lot, and I was calling for the market to take a little bit of a dip, and it is taking a little bit of a dip. So while everyone out there, all the professionals, all the people out there are getting euphoric and they're buying when the market's going straight up because they feel like they're going to, fear missing out, they're going crazy not being in the market, I am being more careful and I'm actually de-risking my portfolio a little bit because I'm selling a little bit up here. I'm waiting for the dip to come and I'm just going to rinse and repeat the cycle. Like maybe it looks just like this cycle right here, but it's just starting right now. So while I am capitalizing on this dip a little bit, I am by no means going all in. The market only came down roughly 5 to 10% when I'm recording this. Like this dip is not major. The market, if you have a 20, 30, 40-year time horizon, you're probably going to see a peak to trough dip of like 40%, to be honest with you. Like this dip that happened right here, the S&P 500 went down 25% and the Nasdaq went down closer to 35%. So when you understand that, and you understand that most investors simply buy high because they're just buying because stocks are going up, and they're selling low simply because they're nervous and stocks are going down, you need to use that to your advantage and simply capitalize on that. So up here again, you're going to dollar cost average, but you're going to buy less shares, but you're going to dollar cost average down here and you're going to buy more shares. S&P 500 and the Nasdaq and some individual companies. Now, very quick on individual companies, what we're looking for, because that's like the fun part of the portfolio of picking stocks and trying to find things that are going to do better than the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq. I'm going to keep this very simple. You always want to buy companies for a good price. You have to buy a good company at a good price. Just having a good company alone, that does not make it a good investment because eventually there's a price that you just can't pay for that company. Like this water bottle right here. You can't pay $5,000 for this water bottle if you just go buy it at the store. There's eventually going to be a price that you're going to say, hey, I can't pay that price for it. It's just simply too much. So you need a good company at a good price. And on top of that, you definitely want to stay away from companies that are highly speculative, like quantum stocks or stocks that don't make money or stocks that have extremely high valuation levels are just very, very expensive because stocks that are valued very highly, there's very high expectations priced into that stock. So when they don't meet the expectation, the stock is going to fall down quite a bit. So again, like when you just understand in the back of your head that most investors are going to underperform the S&P and the Nasdaq, you might as well, as a beginner, just put most of your money there and not worry about it. Just keep it very, very simple. You're going to sleep at night. You know that, hey, yes, the market's going to go through boom and bust cycles, but at the end of the day, it's going to be up and to the right. But it is going to be very bumpy in the short term. Market goes a little bit cheaper, buy more. Market gets a little bit more expensive, buy a little bit less. And that is all you have to do to scale your portfolio to millions and millions of dollars. But I want to flip over here to a compound interest calculator and show you just how much money you could really have if you generate a higher ROI than 10% per year, because honestly, it gets pretty insane. So let's just stick to the original example. We're going to do $1,000 starting out, $1,000 a month. We're going to do it for 25 years this time. And we're going to do an estimated annual interest rate of roughly 20% per year. And you're going to say, well, Brandon, where are you picking this 20% annual interest rate from? And I'm going to say that that is average what I've done in the last decade. I've actually done a little bit better than that. But we're going to go with 20% just to keep things a little bit conservative. So we'll come back to that. Let's go to 10% and let's see how much money you're going to have if you do 10% annual ROI. $1.2 million-ish if all you do is $1,000 a month, 10% per year for 25 years. Remember that $1.2 million number. Watch what happens if I flip this to a 20% ROI. The typical person's going to be like, all right, you're going to have like $2.4 million-ish. It's not even going to be close. You're going to go to $5.7 million if you do 20% per year. Because compound interest compounds. Like, look at the numbers right here. Look at my cursor. Year 24, your value is going to be $4.7 million. But understand that you're going to make 20% on $4.7 million, which is a huge amount of money. That's going to take you from $4.7 million to $5.7 million. But when you're starting out, like I get it, you feel like you're not making much progress because, hey, you're going to make 20% on $13,000 right there, for example. It doesn't feel like it's that much money. But as you get going, you could see this curve go vertical and it goes exponential. And that's why it's just like the rich get richer because they're making the same percentage return maybe as you, but they're just making that percentage return on millions and billions of dollars. So that's why it's critical to get started right now in building your base portfolio and understanding that yes, S&P, NASDAQ, 40% in each of those, and 20% in individual companies that are trading at a good price. They have pricing power, they have a good, durable, competitive advantage, and you're okay to hold those companies through the volatility for the long term. If you do that, you're very likely to beat 95% of investors out there, but you're probably going to average 10 to 15% per year in the long term by doing that. So if you want to take it to the next level and you want to try to get 20% or more return per year, you have to watch my next video right here. It's how I do stock options. You're going to get a lot of value from it, and I'll see you guys later.